What a week, lads. What a week. But it's time for my Game Week 3 predictions. But first, we're going to do a little review of my Game Week 2 predictions. So for Aston Villa versus Everton, I predicted 2-1. And it was 2-1. Let's go, boys. First prediction is correct. Let's go. Villa looked a lot better team than Everton did. And being at home always helps. So yeah, can't really fault Aston Villa for that performance. I think it was pretty decent. Southampton Leeds. Now I predicted a 2-1 win for Leeds, but it was actually 2-2 draw in fair play. I didn't believe Southampton would have the fight in them that they did, and honestly I'm quite impressed by that. Big up Aribo for his first Premier League goal. He is some player, so he's going to do bits for Southampton this season. Leeds also look good too, with great positioning for each goal. Unfortunate that they let their lead slip away, but decent performance from both teams. Arsenal-Leicester, I predicted 3-0 to Arsenal. It was actually 4-2, so I wasn't that far off. However, I didn't expect Leicester to score, and they proved me wrong twice. But Jesus is proving why he's a huge signing for Arsenal. Probably one of the signings of the summer, if you ask me. But both teams much better this week. You know, they're just getting into the rhythm of the Premier League, and they'll improve week on and week out. Brighton and Hove Albion versus Newcastle, I predicted 2-1. It was actually a 0-0 draw. Now I expected goals. Both teams are great at scoring goals, so it's surprising that this was a 0-0. I really did not expect that. An early Brighton goal was waved away as it didn't fully cross the line, and Brighton could just not score. Newcastle though looked much different to the team that faced Forest on the first week. It seemed like their attacking power was blunted by a team whose defence is used to the Premier League. But you know, Nick Pope did Nick Pope things and made some amazing saves, so fair play. Man City versus Bournemouth, I predicted 3-0. It was actually 4-0, and I'm very surprised that Haaland did not score, which is unfortunate for my FPL because I captained him that week because I figured, oh yeah, Bournemouth he'll score. He didn't. Bournemouth did try a big defensive line, but Man City just cut through them like butter, as they normally do. Many goals were expected, and many goals happened. Wolves versus Fulham, I predicted 2-0 win to Fulham. It was actually a 0-0 draw. Mitrovic looked a different man from the player who played Liverpool. Like, he missed a penalty, which is mental. You know, I'd put him down to score his pens, but apparently against Jose Sarr, he couldn't. I'd also say Wolves were the better team in that match, but again, like Brighton, they just could not score. It was crazy the amount of saves and missed chances Wolves had. But 0-0, what can you do? Brentford, Man United. I'm sorry. Brentford, Man United. I predicted 2-2. It was 4-0. Utter humiliation for Ten Hag and his men. A 4-goal pasting by the Bees. Wow. Now that is doing a disservice to Brentford, but wow. Absolute howler from De Gea to open the scoring. Very well played by the Bees. I can see why they'll stay up this season, to be honest, if they keep winning performances like that. And on to Sunday, Nottingham Forest versus West Ham United. I predicted a 1-0 draw. It was actually a 1-0 win to Forest. Let's fucking go. What a game that was, though. 2 goals disallowed, a penalty save. Man, I was there. The atmosphere was insane. Our players look completely different from the team that faced Newcastle United. I'm so proud of them. Well-deserved win. Chelsea versus Tottenham. I predicted 2-1 to Tottenham. It's actually a 2-0 draw, and this game was mental. Prime Barclays. Both teams played well, and Chelsea set up well to combat the style Spurs play in, which, fair play to them, it worked really well. Tottenham were looking better than they did last season when they got pasted 3 times in 2 weeks by Chelsea. But Chelsea, should they have won 2-0? Perhaps. But, you know, it's happened now. Can't really change it. And Liverpool Crystal Palace on Monday. I predicted 3-0. It was actually a 1-0 draw. And I don't know what has happened to Liverpool. If you put this fixture up last season, Liverpool winning that hands down. But they've dropped points in their first 2 games to a newly promoted side and Crystal Palace, who you should have them beating on paper. Also, a red red for Nunez too. He needs to be very careful because if he does that again, or another match, it's another red. If he keeps on doing that, it's a lot of reds this season. Palace also played well away from home. Fair play to Vieira's boys. That is my review of my last week's predictions. Now let's get into the games coming up in Game Week 3. So as always, we're going to start with Saturday and Tottenham Hotspur versus Wolverhampton Wanderers. I reckon this will be a fairly easy draw for Conte's men. After a crazy Sunday scrap against Chelsea, this game will seem very tame. I can't see Conte and Large scrapping on the touchline. Can you? Wolves couldn't score against Fulham, and I would hazard a bet to say that Spurs' defence is better than Fulham's. Spurs have been playing great football this season, and again, their squad looks very, very solid. I'm going to have to say 2-0 to Tottenham. I can't see Wolves breaking through Spurs' line, especially in the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Also, they've lost Morgan Gibbs-White to the boys in red, so it's an L for them. And then we move on to Everton versus Nottingham Forest. Oh, what a spicy match. Everton are still searching for their first 3 points of the season, having lost and drawn their first 2 games. Meanwhile, we're going to be riding high over that win against West Ham. Everton will have the backing of the home crowd, trying to push them over the line, and also being at home gives them an inherent advantage. Whereas Forest are still getting up to speed, with work still being done to get that team properly ready for the Premier League. Although, if it's any improvement like we saw from Newcastle to West Ham, I imagine we're going to look pretty good. Despite that though, I still think it'll be a 1-1 draw, because I think both teams will score, though a win away from home would be huge, and it's honestly possible. However, I do think it'll be a 1-1 draw. Leicester City versus Southampton now. Now this match will be very interesting, as both teams aren't great on paper. Leicester are still remaining immovable on their transfer stances with some of their players, which could still have an effect on the squad. You never know what that kind of talk does to the squad or the players. And a loss to an Arsenal side currently flying is not the end of the world. They didn't have a great many shots against Arsenal, so hopefully that's not an issue, because they did score 2, so they can score goals, and so can Southampton. So these two are pretty evenly matched, I think. As I said, Southampton fought back against Leeds to salvage a point, so I can feel it'll be a similar match here. I'm going to go 2-2 draw. Both teams will score, but I can't see one scoring more than the other. That's usually how a draw goes, but that's how it is. So yeah, it'll be an interesting match to watch nonetheless. And now we go on to Fulham versus Brentford. Now many, before the season started, called these two relegation candidates, but both have performed well in their first 2 games. Brentford turned over a woeful United side, with ease, may I say, and Fulham held Liverpool to a draw in the first game week. Very impressive. I'm excited to see how this one plays out, because I reckon it'll be a good match. Brentford are often underestimated in this league, so it's going to be interesting to see how they play against a team where they're more evenly matched, I think. Fulham do have Mitrovic though. After his pen miss last match, he'll really be looking to score a goal or 2 to put that right. I'm going to have to say 2-1 Fulham. I think both teams will score, and I'm debating whether it would be a 5-goal thriller or not, but for some reason I just can't see it. So I think Fulham will win, but narrowly. And then we move on to Crystal Palace versus Aston Villa. Now Palace did well to hold Liverpool to a draw after going ahead from a beautiful play from Eze and Zaha. And if they can repeat that against Villa, they might win. As Palace did play on Monday, there's a chance they'll still be a bit tired, whereas Villa will have had a full week off to recover. Villa also grabbed their first win of the season against Everton, and from what I saw, they played well. As I did mention in the review, they've lost Diego Carlos after he ripped his Achilles tendon, so he'll be gone for a very long time. And as that was one of the big signings Villa made, there's kind of a big effect on how they play. It's hard to call, as I feel both teams are on par and could do very well this season, but I think being at home will help Palace claw 3 points from this match. 1-0 Palace, I reckon. I think there'll be a late goal that wins it for Vieira's men. Yeah, lots of goal-to-goal action, with both teams struggling to score. And then move on to Bournemouth versus Arsenal. And I just want to say I'm sorry to Bournemouth, because I can't see them winning this one. Although I did say the same against Aston Villa, and look what they did. So, who knows? Arsenal are currently flying, with Jesus being a massive, massive part of this sudden lift they've received. And I think he'll definitely score in this match. Bournemouth expectedly lost to City, and I feel like the same will happen here as well. They are playing at home though, which has already caused an upset this season. So I think they will score, but I think Arsenal will score more. I'm going to go 3-1. I can see Bournemouth scoring a goal at home, using that atmosphere to their advantage. However, I don't think that'll be enough to take them over the line against Arsenal, because that Arsenal side has got some serious firepower at the moment. Move on to the Sunday matches. some decent fixtures in here, to be honest. So we're going to start off with West Ham United versus Brighton and Hove Albion. This will be an interesting one. Brighton are currently do better than the Hammers, with their win over United at the start of the season and holding Newcastle to a draw. Whereas West Ham are still searching for their first win of the season. Actually, it'll be their first points of the season as well. I'd argue that the West Ham squad looks stronger than Brighton's, but if anyone can pull over a win on a better team, it's Graham Potter and his Brighton boys. He's a very good tactical manager, so I'm expecting a good clash here. I think West Ham are desperate for a win, and being at home will be a huge factor here. As we saw against Forest, the home atmosphere definitely helped the squad out. I'd say 3-2 West Ham. Both teams will definitely score goals because they have just goal scorers on their team. And I can see the Hammers just nabbing a winning goal, maybe late on, not giving Brighton enough time to react. I reckon West Ham will get their first win of the season. And now we on to Leeds United versus Chelsea. Leeds are doing better than I expected this season. They got a win over Wolves and a draw of the Saints. It's put them in a good position. Even if it's early on in the season, that is still valuable points. They've shown that even without Rafinha and Calvin Phillips, they can get goals and play good football. Chelsea have also shown that they can score, which is what you'd expect from a huge club like Chelsea. Their draw against Spurs was a controversial one, with claims of bad and biased refereeing, but Chelsea were definitely the better side on the day, and maybe with another official they would have won. The game has happened, we can't change it, so I'm going to go with a 3-1 win to Chelsea. I think it'll be a convincing win for Chelsea as the quality of their squad is huge, and if we compare it to Leeds, there's a big gulf you can see. But I can see Leeds scoring anyway. Newcastle United versus Manchester City. A top half of the table clash, you could call this one, and it's looking like it'll be a good match. Newcastle riding high in the momentum of last season and how they started off this season, and they'll be keen to prove a point against one of the big boys. City look like an almost too strong side this season, and they've yet to concede a goal, which is kind of mental. Newcastle held Brighton to a draw, but did look like a much different squad to the one that battered Nottingham Forest. So will we see the return of that home form? That's left to be seen. Nick Pope was immense for them, for keeping up all manner of goals, no matter how hard Brighton tried to score. And I think he'll do the same this season, or in this match. But I do think it's pretty clear cut who will win this. By how many goals is the real question. I'm going to go 2-1 to City. I think City will win and bag some goals, but I can also see a cheeky Newcastle goal too. Nick Pope will keep the scoreline tight, for sure. Oh, what a match we've got here on Monday, oh my god. Manchester United versus Liverpool. Huge relegation scrap. Well, not really, but it's funny that Man United are bottom of the table. One team will be getting their first win of the season here. And that's pretty mad to say, considering we'll be 3 games in. Manchester United have looked absolutely woeful this season, and Liverpool just haven't been the same team they were last season. There's not really much I could say for either team, really. They've just been underperforming. You've got Trent trying to move to Wilnie's girl, and I don't even know what Ronaldo's up to these days, but I'm not sure he wants to be at United. But as much as I can find fun as Liverpool being below Forest, I can only see one outcome, and that's a 3-0 win from Liverpool. Although I did say the same against Crystal Palace, and that didn't happen, did it? I must say, if Liverpool somehow draw to this United squad, they need a serious look at themselves, because that is embarrassing. That is what I've got for Game Week 3. Hopefully I do better than the last 2 weeks where I've only got 1 right. I'd like 2 right, ideally. But hey, who knows? I'm not the best with ball knowledge. But yeah, I've been O2GT. This has been Game Week 3 Premier League predictions. If you have any surprise predictions, maybe leave them in the comments. I'd love to see what you guys got planned. And yeah, I shall see you guys in my next video. Peace.